Okay, so here we go for actually doing a full review. But yeah, I talk about it a lot with diamonds because diamonds and like low champs because it's more common among them to have that kind of situation and they don't know how to get out of it. They don't have any inkling of like what to do. Like right here, Delephant, this kind of like load up. Delephant realizes it's a load up and then he just leaves.
Well, again, this is I think the uncomfortability going wide. Like as far as like he knows that he can't come in on the ball, and his natural instinct is to I want to fill in the next because I'm close, rather than I want to create a passing lane. So as he comes in here, like loaded or Cal's already on the way out here, loaded's taking the ball. If he just books that to the left, then he can start looking to make a passing lane. And if it doesn't come through, he can loop around and be heading back towards the backside post while Cal challenges this.
Yeah, like this and then
No,
or
no,
sorry,
the other
no,
way.
no, no, sorry. Yeah, this way. My bad.
Yeah.
I forgot about the
Like, no, the
hypothetical.
exact opposite of
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Uh
yeah, if he turns out, then he can be looking for a pass from loaded, and if it doesn't come, he can look back. So he has options, and he gets a chance to read that, and he's free to do that because Cal's there. So many times I see
oops.
people just want to be like, oh, well, here, let me fill in behind him and wait for him to make a mistake. But now loaded has no choice but to make a mistake because he can either try to lose it and let the man come in behind him. If he successfully crosses it, he passes it to nobody. He just relieves that pressure. The other team scoops it up and takes it back on offense the other way. And I see this a lot. It's a lot of overloading. So if they just have that pressure release valve, they can just kick it out to the far side.
Yeah.
Normally it's a defensive no-no, but if you ever all get on the same side of the field, that is 100% the correct move. All
Just
he has to do is tap that directly across his net into the other side of the other corner, which seems scary, but when you realize that there's nobody there to contest it, it's just a free scoop up. You get to get boost, you get space, position, and you get to move into an offensive transition with spacing and control, which is the best thing you can hope for.
yeah. I've talked about that on some occasions. Probably not so much when there's overloading. More I talk about like what to do to get out of an overload, not so much like what
How to
the
react on defense
what
from.
the opposition can do when other people are overloading. Yeah. Cuz
And then
like
the same thing is like if you spot this on defense, that's your pressure release valve. As soon as you see everybody, just hit it to the opposite corner, and you'll scoop it up.
yeah, and like
Make sure you have power on it. Don't just drop it in front of the net.
what I do is when I'm covering offensive rotations, I talk to them about how they want to get it to the opposite corner of where the ball is. Because when people are rotating in offense, like a standard rotation or even like an overloaded rotation, the place where there's space is usually this part of the field because the ball's over here. Like usually they'll have a third man. Oh man, I'm gonna use different colors because I wanted to keep these arrows. Actually, I can just delete those arrows. So like usually people have a third man here, one person on the ball, and one person over here. And if you kick the ball all the way out over here, even if you don't get possession, you usually like alleviate pressure to give you guys some time to do something.
Hmm.
Um, but like that's generally what I talk about is like getting the ball to space if you can't get it to a teammate, because like it's gonna be easier. The worse you are at the game, the easier it is to put it where there's nobody.
Yeah, you just got to be careful about putting it far enough in that midfield so he doesn't get a shot as you cross it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But yeah, if there's
But
space there, if he's pushing too far to the wall, especially, a lot of times I'll see that back man go all the way to that mid side boost, and then when they do that, that's just an easy drop down into the center.
yeah. The other thing I wanted to say about this specific overload is it's not entirely nonsensical for Dell to stay close. Like not try not to get too far past this area, and stay close for a short pass.
Hmm. I usually
And
say if you're the outside person, or I guess the inside person is Dell, you don't want to go past the boost lane.
yeah,
Um, is about as far as you'd want to go, and you need to be ready to kick out. But yeah, I agree with you totally. Just like an offensive transition, you have that close man while you don't know what's about to happen while he tries to read it, and then he can push out right afterwards when it doesn't if it doesn't come.
yeah, and like the thing about this play in particular, um, ignoring the fact that this guy's front post, because like the fact that this guy's front post makes this even better for a short pass, in my opinion, because like going wide is going to be harder. It gives this guy more time to turn around. Um,
Oh,
but
I'd actually say the opposite because if he's already at the front post, if you drop that right to the opposite, the back post, top of the box.
I would agree with you if loaded had a way to pass this that didn't involve the wall.
Okay.
Because like from where he is, so if we're actually gonna like full context this, from where he is, there's no way he's getting a hard enough pass across here that this guy won't have time to turn around. He either like has to shoot it diagonally
He's
to
got
get
to
the
he's got to scoop it and jump with it and then
yeah,
flick it
and that's just
over.
like so hard to do quickly when you have someone who already actually has like possession of the ball basically.
Hmm.
Let's see how close he is to this because I'm pretty sure he's hitting this again.
Or take it to the corner and get a second touch out to the mid.
Oh yeah.
But
Um
it's already popping back that way. I thought it was coming out forward.
so did I. We're talking about this hypothetical and completely wrong information. It's great. Um
We've been paused for too long.
yeah. But yeah, like and it just if loaded was closer to the wall, I like completely agree with you. Like there needs to be someone closer to midfield or even wide, especially if there's someone front post on defense because like from this position it's way easier to get an outfield kick. But like when you're not
I know you
you
can really do both. He can sit that near side post and then be booking it to that outside corner when it doesn't come, so he can play the short and then into the long game, as long as that's his path. If he cuts that hard across that boost line to the far side post, because then he can play the short path. And because if Isaac does get that touch, it's going to be a scoop up the wall of intake. It's going to take a little bit like a second or two to develop.
yeah,
So he can even play that inside pass, and then as that play starts to develop, then he can push to the backside post, and you're able to get both here. You
that's
don't have to pick and choose.
that's very true. That's why like I really love this line of approach, like this part of the field. This is such a good part of the field for both options.
The the boost pad, the little pads show you exactly where you want to be at all
These
times.
ones?
Like the the wide one, the curved route.
Oh, for like the because you can just
Hmm.
yeah, you're talking about
Yeah,
getting
and
the
it's
full
gonna.
arc.
But
Yeah.
like in general, like even if you're not on the path to get the entire full arc, it's generally in a high traffic, well contested area in places you want to be. So even if you're not pathing per se, just being somewhere on the path is typically pretty good.
Yeah. Anyhow, we can actually like continue with this now.
Yeah, we're 8 seconds into the replay.
10 minutes into the video.
Like my original one, remember, was
So
that
here's kind of an issue. Yeah, I remember.
broken into 2 hour long videos for one game.
That was so nice though. And for context, YouTube, Clown is my coach and the person who basically informed me indirectly on how to be a coach. So like right here, Dell rotating ball side's a little rough. This is made worse when loaded turns around. Um, so what needs to happen is he needs to just keep going. Why is this so tiny all of a sudden? Is this better? There we go. But he needs to just go this way and come out wide. Just to alleviate the fact that we have people on this side already. Because Dell's going to continue to do this, but if loaded also does that, now it's way harder for one person to actually transition out wide. Um, Mostly because they have to go through their teammate in order to do it.
If that does happen, though, Dell needs to be booking out immediately at mid boost rather than coming all the way to that back boost on the near side. He's cutting off Cal's lane of attacking this.
Oh yeah, no, that
They can still fix that. If he just pushes behind Cal, that opens up, yeah, Cal's lane to come through. And as long as Cal gets at least somewhat of a touch or a bump or a challenge, that
it
should buy enough time for Dell to get back post and be in position.
com-
But now Cal has to hit the brakes because everybody's coming right at him.
completely agree. Yeah, I was talking more like I already said that like Dell's rotating ball side is bad, and it was just made
Hmm.
worse by Isaac also rotating ball side. Um,
Yeah.
I really need to stop moving around so much. This is fine. So here's an interesting one. So I know Clown used to talk about this a lot because we had this issue for a long time. But like this back post man pushing out is usually horrendous. In this situation, it's not so bad, only because loaded is stuck in that corner. Um, Typically, when we talk about offensive transitions, you want someone to come through net and come up midfield close and be able to move to whichever part of the field they want for the short or the long pass. And then you have your third man come up behind later, and then you have obviously your one man. Um, But in this situation, because Dell can push out and Loaded can't, it makes sense for Dell to push out just to get that offensive pressure and also get a good 2v1 breakaway real quick. And you see how
One
Loaded
thing
comes
that
up and
yeah,
as
one
third
thing
man.
that can make that a little bit easier though is Loaded before Weasley gets stuck in the back here before that even happens is that he grabs this and turns back. Oh wait, no, never
He,
mind. He was just off an arrow.
yeah, yeah.
Continue. You were right. Yeah, yeah. I didn't realize he was on the ground the first time. I thought he just turned right back towards net. I was gonna say he could be an outlet pass for Cal,
Yeah.
um,
No,
but he wasn't in a position to do that, so never mind.
yeah, this came off of oh my god, not this, but because what happens is this gets 50'd into backboard or gets launched into backboard, and Loaded's just trying to stop it from being a shot.
Mm-hmm.
So here, when Dell does this, he needs to finish his rotation down to midfield before turning again, because right now we have too many people up. And he was second man, and he knows that he should know if that ball's not coming to him, Cal's already committed and stuck up here for a second, even if he recovers well. And whoever third man is should be pushing this ball, and he just needs to trust that fact. If he turns on and off ball cam, he'd probably see that, but he definitely needs to get back to this backfield line. Um, he ends up doing okay. Cal's rotating ball side. So we got a good spacing here. A little bit too far back on defense for a second there. Yeah, already this game looks like it's just shaky rotations. What the hell? Like rotating too far back and then like offensive transitions being kind of rough. That's a yikes. Oh, like this needs to be communicated from someone. If Isaac's going for this, he needs to like either say something. But realistically, I don't think Isaac should be going for this, if I'm being completely honest. Right about here, Isaac should be looking to leave or go wide. So he should just keep going like this. And if that ball doesn't come across the field, he needs to leave and go back because right now we have two people up. And he can't really like touch this into the corner to anybody. If he hits this into the corner and Dell rotates out, all you're really doing is giving up the ball into midfield with no one back. And Dell's going to have a much harder time getting to midfield from this position. So he can probably get to about here by the time that ball hits the center of the field if Isaac hits this hard. And at that point, they can boom it into the net, and it's really, really hard for Dell to actually get to it in time. So Isaac really needs to see that there's both these people here and start backing off. And then I think Cal is rotating ball side again. So yeah, and then here Cal just needs to turn out when he gets turned like that and keep going out, and that'll help alleviate.
Yeah, he gets baited into his touch here, but as a general rule of thumb, I say you don't want to cross past the near side post when you're on the wing. Because at that point, he's already come so far, but now he has to take a shot behind him. It's a hard shot, especially when they're defending it right there, and you're gonna put yourself into this two people in the corner position. So
Yeah,
now the team is overloaded. So while it looks like you see the ball right there in the box and you want to go get it, if it's all the way over there, you're better off, like Swoopy said, just leaving it and going around, keeping the
yeah.
space.
Accepting that you lost possession in their box and trying to either regain possession in midfield or back on your side of the field, whichever ends up being more allowed by the play. Um, but
Or
yeah,
just letting Dell stay in there to maybe get a contest on it, to push it back towards the middle rather than kicking it out wide, which is what the defense wants. Because here on a 50, because of the angles that they're coming from when Cal goes for his touch, that's probably kicking into their corner if they get a 50 on that. Um, just because of the angles that they're on, and if it kicks out, that's in the favor of the defense. There's a good chance it hits that corner and pops straight over Dell and out along the wall, and then even if it goes a little bit wider, it's bouncing up and out. Um,
Which is also in favor of defense.
hmm
Yeah.
so pretty much wherever that ball pinches, as long as it kicks to the outside, defense wins that, and it's just because you challenged on the wrong side of a post.
Yeah, so like after this touch, after Dell's touch, the thing to do is to have someone start getting back to cover this guy's redirect. And then you guys can regain possession from there and try and bait them back into your side of the field so that you can kick the ball over them and get a different transition. Convince them they're on offense off of this guy's touch is basically what it is, when really they're not. They've just lost possession. They bunched up super hard there. So this is kind of ball chasey. Right here, Cal shouldn't be jumping for this. Not like in any stretch. Loaded's back, and that should be good enough. And Loaded even gets a touch, which is better. Cal jumping for this also makes it harder for Dell to push out, because now he knows that there's one person in net, and they're probably committing to this, and Cal making this jump makes it to where Dell can't really push out because he needs to get to back post or front post, whichever.
Yeah, that's a perfect opportunity for Loaded just to kick that out to Dell, who stays wide along the wall, and get a great fast break there if Kel just goes to the backside.
Yeah. And you can see it kind of translates into your guys' offensive transition here. Because Cal ends up getting this, but he doesn't really have any way to get this to Dell due to the pressure. Um, Dell does a decent job getting this, but you guys don't really have any way to continue to maintain possession off of Dell's touch. Because the first touch off of the break was not really possessive. That's just a miss. That's another miss. So
Again, it was pressured, but if they get like that idea what you're talking about, use of space, that even if you can't get it directly as a pass to Dell, you can put it in a place where he can get it before the opposition. So when you see that the opposition is coming from their back left on this touch, right here, so he's gone all the way up there. Pause. He's in their back corner, and this one guy's touched. So if you can get it over the top of this guy and put it wider, the better it is for Dell. So he can get it over that way, or even I was gonna say even closer towards mid boost, maybe a little bit in front of it. Then let Dell go chase it. He can collect himself over there while you keep pushing up right, and then he can kick it back you behind that offense man who's gonna be late because he's coming all the way from his far side corner. And then Cal ends up with that pass off of a give and go from Dell by going wide.
yeah, the reason I think that that would be like really hard, is just because if this guy behind him gets the touch that he wants, Dell's not getting this ball.
Well,
Because
they're both pushing it the same way is the thing. But if they're just both trying to boom it, like Endeavor even has a better angle at that. So if Endeavor hits that, that's at the speed he's going, he's gonna pop that so high and over the top of his teammate.
well, I was thinking that Endeavor's hit was actually going to maintain, like, be closer to the ground and go more like this, and it might end up going behind Vitali, which would be fine. But in the case that it doesn't, Cal needs to make sure that Vitali doesn't get this ball.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like why he's forced to. He can't make as controlled a touch as he wants. Is what I mean by like,
For sure. Yeah.
yeah. Like I again,
But
you're right. The goal is to pop it up or push it this way and pop it. Either of those would be the best case scenario. I would say that this is significantly harder. You can try and use Endeavor, but you can't see him, so it's like not really
mm-hmm.
physically
For
possible.
sure, I'm not saying it's easy by any stretch of the means. Just
Yeah,
if you mentioned that he couldn't get a good hit to Dell because of it,
yeah,
and then letting you know that there's indirect options.
that's for sure. I think in other situations those are definitely way more viable. This one's just like
Mm-hmm.
really shit because Endeavor, if he does get a touch, that's staying low to the ground, and that's not good for Dell. Just because
Yeah.
Vitali is in a better mid position.
And if he just gets a quick redirect before Dell can react to it, then that's likely going straight in.
Yeah, because like the whole
It's
net's
always
open at
and
that
it's always
point.
better to make sure that they don't have an open shot than it is to try to keep possession. If you gotta If you got to give away possession to make sure that they don't have a clear shot, do it.
Yeah. So here, this is kind of like a situation where you're cutting in a little bit too hard. If you go just a little bit wider, ignore this boost pad is basically what I'm saying. This boost pad's hell. I talk about that a lot. It's mostly for transitioning outward, not so much for transitioning in. A lot of the time, if you're picking up this boost pad while transitioning in, you're opening up this entire side of the net. Um, and it also just makes it harder to challenge people in the corner because you're coming at an angle like this most of the time. And if you turn any harder, you're opening up this backboard. And so you can't really
Hmm.
cover both options.
Unless you're doing that thing that Spoopy talked about earlier, where you cut to a front post. If you're cutting from wide, where you have somebody behind you and you need to buy that time.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, I was just talking about this specific
yeah,
situation
yeah,
because
this
Cal
specifically.
Cal gets completely bald here, and I just want to talk
Hmm.
about like why that happened. It has to do with this boost pad. Like
For sure.
literally like this much of a difference in turn radius is gonna
Because
be.
you, yeah, you got to turn more than 90 degrees here in order to challenge it.
Yeah.
That kills momentum and position. And
And we can see like they even shot on the side of the net that I just talked about being opened up by that.
hmm yeah, they played it well.
Okay. So right here, like Isaac's super far back. So at this point, when you see this, this is actually the perfect opportunity to grab this boost pad and like bolt up this way. You can grab this boost pad and side flip or front flip and pick up pretty much all of these boost pads without using more than like 5 boost. And you don't even have to boost in this case because you're just trying to get up to this line, and the play is developing while you're flipping. Um, but going and grabbing this 100 pad, which I'm pretty sure is actually here, uh,
It was, yeah.
yeah, is why instead of being here, you're back here. And that's going to be really significant in a second. Because,
Dell does do a very good job of coming close for an in pass and then pushing out to the wide out on this transition now.
I'm so bad at this. Yeah. So you can see, like, if you had gotten here a little bit sooner, you could have either started pushing up this way and stayed on the wing for Dell because you would see the play develop that way. Um, Apparently you guys score off this anyway, so it's not a big deal. I think it's Cal though. Yeah, Cal's cut is what does it. Um, but like the fact that you're not up there already is also part of the reason Cal feels inclined to rotate out this way because now transit or the rotations are going like this, um, instead of it being a situation where Cal can push out this way, Dell can push this way, and Loaded can push up, and Cal would eventually rope around this way. It like leaves the midfield open for a little bit longer, but ultimately lets Cal disrupt defense more than he's able to with Loaded so far back so late. Again, it works out, so it's like no harm, no foul. Some bumps. That was good. That was a good challenge after all that bumping. This is a harsh transition though. Um, so here Cal should just slow down. Either that or Dell should call low boost and be the one who slows down and doesn't flip. Um, Mostly to allow one of you to push up and one of you to become third man really slowly. Loaded's doing the right thing and going in the wing and coming to the play a bit late. Dell ends up getting out, which is good. Um, Not necessarily the best getting the boost though. Yeah, sweet. Nope. Rip. So this was smart. Hitting this up instead of trying to take a shot, even though they have people backboard, really opened up the net for half a second. Kind of put them in weird positions. So right here, Cal really wants to continue rotating back. If he goes back further and waits to see if Dell gets this touch, just a little bit longer, doesn't have to like boost or flip or go to back post immediately. He'd be able to better approach this ball after Dell hits it, but instead it just goes over his head. And that's just because of the rushed half rotation instead of like a more 3/4 rotation or full rotation. Kind of far back. Good job not full committing to this. So this is a for people that are not on this team. This is a trap. When you're this far away from the ball and you go to challenge it, don't flip at it. You either want to fake challenge or commit but don't flip until you know that you can touch the ball. And the reason is because they're probably just going to hit it around you like they do to Cal right here. And so he can kind of chase this, but then he realizes he doesn't really have the ability to touch the ball anywhere other than at his own net, and so he backs off. Um, and that's just a way to force them to make a touch, whether or not it's exactly what they want, but they can't just control the ball in midfield. And now you can see Delafin's almost at back post, and Isaac's able to actually challenge this. Dell needs to finish rotating out there. There's a lot of bad half rotations that are happening in this. That was probably a misread. Okay. So when the play slows down like this in the corner, so Loaded's not immediately banging this, he slows down. What we want to see happen is for Dell to keep pushing this way and for Cal to turn this way, or it even makes more sense because Cal was kind of turned this way to rotate out this way. Um, and then Dell can slowly come around this way and start to do like a similar thing. And what'll end up happening is you guys will kind of do this kind of circle. Um, Typically this won't get completed more than once, but that'll give a lot of time for Isaac to do what he's doing, and it'll give someone the opportunity to transition over here if they need to, and it'll keep this role here from being completely absent for as long as it is. Um, and so we have this kind of transition, which isn't ideal because now Cal has an awkward angle on this. Dell's really far out of the play and really can't commit even if Cal gets a good touch unless Cal gets like the ball over here somehow. But that's probably not happening. Or Isaac, I guess, because he's there. That was a smart back pass. So here's more ball side rotations that are going bad. Dell really needs to just cut out at this point. Maybe even a little bit sooner. Just side flip, and you can get all the way out. You can see Loaded kind of does. I don't know if he was bumped or not, but you should be moving out with him, and then going wider because he's well. From there, it's really like whoever's more inside needs to cut front post, and the other person needs to go back post. But I imagine that Loaded would remain back or closer to front post, and then you can go back post. And that'll help with this kind of situation where you have this awkward double commit. Loaded can't really touch this to anyone because Cal has to start transitioning back, and Dell can't really pick this up from Loaded's touch because he's going to have to read a bounce behind him, and that's not really the ball's going to both you and the opposition, but ultimately the opposition has a better pick because they can go at the ball more than you can. Good recovery in 50 though. Am I the kind of retard that jumps for this? Is that just me? Like, if I'm in Cal's position, I'm hard hopping off the wall and aerialing for that. I'm asking you, Clown.
Go back a little bit. You're going for that challenge as Cal?
Like, I would hop off the ball and try and hit this cross field. Or into backboard, whichever one I'm able to do.
Oh, as Cal back here?
Yeah, back here.
Um, yeah, if you have the ability to do so.
Okay, you don't think
Um,
that that's just complete brain dead?
no, I mean
It's
you are kind of putting a lot on it, so like you got to be pretty confident in your ability to do so, because they're looking at a transition. He now has Dell's out of a play. If you miss this touch, now Locked is back, and he has the ability to either hit it all the way across to the guy just behind Locked, or he can just dump it down in the midfield. And they wait, okay, one guy's going back. Okay, he'd probably want to dump it down in the midfield, but they'd still be able
contest it.
to get a nice transition. Locked's going to be in a bad spot if you miss it.
Yeah.
Um, and then the other side of that coin is you don't really have anybody to pass to, because Locked has to play the back man in case this goes wrong. Like he can't just trust that you're gonna launch off and get that hit, because if not, then it's wide open on the back.
The idea for me for getting that hit is just to let Dell get out and then let Loaded determine from there whether or not he's going to shadow or challenge. Just because the amount of time that touch is going to take.
Yeah. I personally wouldn't go for it.
Okay,
Um, but at higher levels, if they keep it close to, especially if they keep it close to the wall, you're gonna be a lot safer to do it. If they start getting it all the way out there,
that's when it's
I don't know.
unsafe.
It really just depends on their confidence in your touch. Like there's some players who can just nail that every single time, and I wouldn't want to like if you can slow down the play by doing it, then do it, but don't overextend
Too hard just to
on
get that
a
touch.
risky play if you're not at the
Yeah.
ability to do so.
Yeah, I think I hit
Um,
it like 50% of the time.
I'd say that's not enough.
Yeah.
But the only way you learn is to keep practicing. So like there's times for just
Don't
going for things to learn for them. But
so
like if
don't do
you're in a
that in a
ranked or
tournament.
competitive situation or a tournament somewhere where you're really just this game is important rather than overall just getting better. Because there's some things that I'm really bad at that I do all the time. Just because I need the practice and I'm never gonna get better if I never try. Um,
Yeah.
but when it comes down to we're in a tournament, this is or CRL game or whatever it is that you're really trying to win, I wouldn't risk it.
Unless
You're always
you
better off,
hit it more than
yeah,
70% of the time.
something like that. Like whenever because you always got to consider what's going to happen if you don't hit it. Like say you have a 50% chance to hit that ball, which will be somewhat helpful, but then if you miss it, then there's a 90% chance of a score. Then you kind of gotta look
The
at that option and be that's probably not the best. But if I got a 90% chance to hit this and completely stall them and save somebody from what's going to be a difficult play anyways, if that touch is better than your teammate's touch that's going to be coming in a 1v2, then yeah, take it.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have to keep that in mind. I definitely do that a lot in ranked. I don't think I do it as much in competitive environments unless I'm more confident. Like you were saying, the ones that are closer to the wall.
Yeah, if it's close to the wall, I'll do it. But if it pops out like that, I know personally, but I don't have the aerial speed and consistency to be able to get that hit, so I'd probably just back off and try to.
This was a really good cut. Yeah, that makes sense. Like right here, this seems kind of crazy because he's not going to beat him to the ball, but this guy literally can't shoot on the net because he can't hit it low enough without Loaded being able to touch it, unless he like full ground shots it. But like this is a hard ball to ground shoot at that angle. Um, and like ultimately you guys don't get the possession off of it, but you do stop the shot, and that gives time for everybody to get back into defensive situations.
One thing, if you actually go back and look at that from Loaded's perspective, that I like to point out is the way that he goes for his challenge. So as he comes up, his positioning is good, like Spoopy said, but as he comes into it, he tries to twist flip it towards the inside, which is going to be narrowing that angle. You always want to flip towards the outside, push into the pinch. So as they're coming in from this angle together, if he flips that out to the right, anything that goes outside is good for him. He's still keeping them from pushing it into the net, doing his job by forcing it from the outside. Um, but as he flips in, that's just going to alleviate a lot of the angle that he's taken. Um, yeah, whenever you come at it, if it's not a straight on, if you come in at an acute angle, you always want to push it towards the outside, so a wider side. So since they're both coming from the inside of the field, that makes the obtuse angle being pushed out towards the wall, and that's the side that you want to flip to.
When you're on defense.
Really either way. Even on offense, because if you try to flip in on offense, then the defense is going to be doing the same thing. They're going to be pushing into that wide angle and beating you either way. So you really have to the way you flip is determined by the angle of the approach of the 50. You always want to hit it to be outside of the 50-50 if you're not coming at a straight on shot. Just because that's the way that the ball pitches. You want to keep contact with the ball for as long as possible. So as that's trying to pinch outside from that narrow angle, the shortest place for it to go is directly out opposite. If you flip towards the way that it's going to be going, you create a backboard that moves with the ball. And then if your opponent doesn't, that means you're going to be the last one to get that touch and you're going to win that 50.
Oh, okay. I wasn't thinking about winning the 50 as much as I was thinking about putting the ball where you want to.
But he's already covered the force on the one side. So just pushing that 50 is just going to be even better, kicking it to the outside, kicking it off that wall to slow it down.
Oh yeah, like I said, on defense I agree with that 100% of the time. On offense I don't always agree with that. Is what I'm getting at. Cuz there are a lot of times on offense where I'll push to 50 this way instead of this way. Um just because I want the ball to bounce off this wall for my third man to come in. Because if I pinch it this way or get it to 50 into this backboard, they're going to have a better chance.
Well, okay, like what's the angle you're talking about? Like when you're
So I'm up here, they're pushing the ball this way, and I'm approaching kind of like this.
mm-hmm,
I tend to try and instead of pushing the ball um,
to the wall.
this way, I try and push it this way more, or even to the corner, and that's just to make it easier for the third man to come up because otherwise that ball is more likely to go behind them. Um, and usually I'm cutting across field like this because the person's too far back and they're pushing up late.
Mm-hmm.
But
I still think that's really risky to try to push it back towards the inside. You got to get all the way around the ball to get it past. So first of all, you need more time to do it. And then secondly, you're not able to flip back and keep that extended contact with the ball because that's what I was talking about. That
oh, so
what
it's
wins
more likely to
50s
pinch this
is
way.
that if you try
Yeah,
to flip it inside and he tries to push it outside, that's going to kick out, and he's not only going to push it to the wall, which is what you didn't want, he's going to kick it out into the wall, bouncing it hard towards that mid boost, which is probably going to mess up your teammate even more.
makes sense.
Um, so
Interesting.
yeah, you want to make contact with the ball, but at the same time with the 50, flip directly after you've both made contact, and flip towards the side that it's going to be pinched to, and you'll end up winning, I'd say at least 80% of your 50-50.
Oh, you know what? I freaking lied to you. So what happens is instead of flipping like this way, I end up like forward or diagonal, and that's what pushes it this way.
Mm-hmm. But you're still trying to push it, force it to the outside. That kind of gets it. You're not trying to kick it into the net. You're not trying to pinch it right into the net, like for a shot towards the
Oh, okay.
inside
So I was
or
thinking
across.
I was thinking in and out, not like this. I was thinking about it in terms of whatever the direction of the 50 is. So like if I'm 50ing this way, then in and out becomes these.
Well, it has to do with the angle. So like draw a circle and then or draw the lines on where the two people are approaching from, and then draw a circle. So like you basically make like a little arrow. So as you see, like as they come together, wherever the ball's going to come, that's making an angle. So now the ball is going to go to the place with the least force, which is going to be directly that third path. So if you go draw the side, it's going to be basically kicking straight out here. So as that 50 comes, it's going to push to the outside. So you want to identify where that pinch is going to go, and then flip towards the side that it's going to go, just to maintain contact with the ball as long as possible. Because whoever stays in contact with the ball the longest ends up being the last man to touch it, and whoever touches the ball last is the one who wins.
Yeah. And then we can go into a myriad of circumstances with 50s because holy shit.
Yeah.
So, last thing I wanted to touch on, because this is kind of what lost you the game. Dell approaches wide, and when he sees that ball going up, he doesn't start to slow down or go up the wall with it, and he needs to do one of those. So at this point, it's very obvious that that's going to roll, just because it's low to the ground. Um, and he either needs to go up onto the backboard to contest this, or needs to slow down significantly sooner so that he's not going so far into the net so quickly. Because this is kind of what's hurting him right here is the fact that he's not back post and he's not backboard contesting this guy's touch. Because he could jump off backboard and try and 50 this guy, or even like push the ball and keep it over here. Or from here, he can just wait back post and be patient. And if he does, he has a much easier angle of approach on this. Even though he's slowed down, like even if you have like 30 boost, you're fine. And we can see he has a shitload of boost. So he has all the time in the world to deal with this from this guy's touch outfield. And this would be about the time he'd be jumping. But instead, we have this scenario going on, and this is why you get scored on, because he has to follow the ball instead of, or he has to chase the ball from inside the net instead of chasing it from a better angle. Um, so like his angle of approach instead of being this is now this, and the ball is moving this way, and so he's not able to cut it off at any point.
Meanwhile, the offense gets to be able to read that the entire way. They can see where it's hitting a lot better than him and jump before it hits the backboard, whereas defense typically has to wait for it to bounce before we're able to get that read.
Yeah, and so I have about 18 more minutes, so we're hopefully not gonna get into some like crazy philosophical conversations about 50-50s in this one. Also, if you can't tell, there's a reason that Clown is a good coach. I fully recommend watching some of his content on YouTube. He doesn't have like a whole lot on his channel last I checked, but there's some good stuff
It's
there.
it's been a minute. I've been doing more individuals rather than videos lately, but I
Dude,
try to
I
start getting back on that.
I upload as many of my RSC sessions as possible. I have to edit one of my videos and cut out a chunk of it. What the hell happened here? Isaac slowed down. Oh, he did a double turnaround. Okay, so right here, Isaac wants to just keep going this way and come to back post and let Dell do the push out and deal with this. Um, just because he's already turned the wrong way. And then here, he wants to just go up backboard, but he's a little bit off angle.
He just chased that ball and then approached from the near side post and
Mm-hmm.
removed the lane from Dell to be able to get the clear.
Oh, Clown also has a coaching school, which would probably be a better thing to do. I don't have a coaching school. I coach franchise on RSC occasionally, and then I coach a couple of teams and friends. But Clown actually has a school, and he works with different orgs to get more trainees and also have established teams. So if you're looking for that, I'll leave a link in the description to. Do you have a permalink to your Discord?
Yeah, I'll get you a permalink, and
Awesome.
I do one free 1 hour session for everybody. So feel free to stop by and get a free session.
Yeah. So this is kind of risky from Loaded's part. Dell's able to get out pretty well though. Um, and then you guys respace after that. That is a intense commit though. Very good on his part to fully capitalize on it. So I don't know if Dell intentionally missed this. It doesn't look like it. It's kind of funny because it's good that he intentionally missed it. Otherwise, this ball would be going directly to Vitali, and then he'd be able to scoop it up and better transition them back onto offense. But because he misses this, and this is something that you can think about when you're going to just like mindlessly hit the ball, is you can flip away from the ball and get a softer touch or just not touch it at all. And sometimes that's fine because you want to keep it on your side of the field so that your teammates have a better chance of touching it after you, instead of your opponents just being able to scoop it back up and push it back onto your side while they have people up. Um, it's very circumstantial. You have to have some pretty high awareness for it, but like hilarious that this unintentionally happened because you can see that, well, Loaded doesn't have the boost to actually take this up, but if he had just like picked up this boost pad, he'd have an easier time touching that ball and moving it upfield.
Dell also had the option there of just controlling it up the wall. He's coming in fast, but booming it doesn't have to be here. There's nobody challenging this except the guy coming behind. If he slow taps that up the wall to follow it up there, Cal can make a turn and they can get a 2v1 fast break right here.
Yeah.
If he booms it, Vitaly gets it, but if he just does it soft where he can keep possession, Vitaly's already turned away, so he's now retreating. If he gets that touch and controls it up that wall, Cal makes that turn, and that should be a fast break the other way.
Yep. Good catch. Oh, that needs to not happen. This literally should never happen.
Yep, that park.
There should be a decent understanding that Cal's behind you because you just blasted through and saw him like right about here or whatever. Um, but like when you start to slow down like this, just keep pushing out. Don't slow down, especially with your guys' team. Like
And
you,
don't turn to the wall for sure.
yeah, don't turn to the wall because you guys have a very good understanding of where each other should be, and your rotations are usually fine. This is a situation where you can full trust and just leave. And Loaded going up on backboard is not the worst thing in the world. Doubly so because if Dell had just left and started rotating back when he saw Loaded get that touch, Cal could push out and either cross it over to Dell in open space or even just hit it upfield and then you guys can transition from there. Like he doesn't have to get a good touch, he just has to get a clear. And then if he doesn't actually get that clear, Dell's able to rotate into back post. You guys are able to continue transitioning, and then Loaded can start leaving up into midfield to, here, let me draw lines. So Loaded could have started leaving up to here. Dell could be coming in this way to challenge the ball. Cal would be outfield here, and he could be going wide. And then again, we can have another situation where we have someone come back post, someone looking to hit the ball out to either upfield or over to their teammate, and then we have options again, and then rinse and repeat.
Here if you go back a little bit, we had Calypso had a chance to push through. We go right here. Go back a little bit more. So here we have a turn and out. There's nobody out and across. If he comes a little bit quicker, Calypso, who's in the corner, who turned out, he wants to sit behind, and that forces Dell to go wider out here. If he cuts that early, then Dell can still play that third man right through there, and he can be looking right here. If he cuts, instead of slowing down and turning around, if he's looking at going across, if that comes out, he can be looking for any kind of rebound that pops in the middle, anything like that. And then Delephant doesn't have to come so far wide, because now if Del goes that far wide with Calypso here, now they've opened up that center lane, that space right in the middle.
You mean Calster?
Um, mhm.
Okay. You said Calypso like 4 times.
Oh, did I? I'm sorry.
It's fine.
Yeah,
I think
Calster.
I think the read here is that this guy isn't under the ball so much and he's gonna hit it this way. But this guy ends up
But
soft
even
touching.
so, Dell would be in a position to be able to get that. Is the thing, because Dell's pushing wide because Cal doesn't go wide, but Cal, I mean, Delephant was in a position where he could be coming right on that back post for that third position if Cal just pushes through. It probably doesn't happen in this case. He was a little bit late moving up with Loaded, anyways. But this just kind of opens up because he's going back while Dell's moving forward on the opposite side, and there's a big gap right in the middle where they can kind of start taking advantage of that space. if Especially if Typeborn hits that out to Vitali, turning the other way while Calypso's running backwards.
Yeah.
So right here, if Calypso turns away, and then Vitaly pushes through, and then Ty just hits it to Vitaly right here. Now Calypso's running away. Delaphant's too far. He's going to be having to push across, and then they can just kick it back over. And they got a nice fast break opportunity. Whereas if Calypso pushes through, Del stays in the back. He's in the spot where he can contest it a lot better, and Cal's moving towards the back post rather than towards the front post in a shadow situation. Um, mhm. Then that just works out a lot better. Cal has the option to go back post for the offense or loop around. Dell's in a good defensive position without having to turn around backward.
Okay. So
And then
my
I'll just slow a bit faster. It's that half rotation situation that you were talking about earlier.
yeah. The the thing from this though is if this guy goes to beat this to the wall, which is what it looks like he's doing. He has teammates there and everything. If Cal beats them or even 50s here, that ball is more likely to come out mid.
And who goes for that?
Dell.
And what if Dell misses that?
If Dell misses that,
If Cal pops it to the middle and somebody Vitaly's looping around, you've got Endeavor looping around. If Dell pops that to the center and Orange Team beats Dell to that ball, then you're in that all-in situation where they just have an open snipe all the way to the backside.
so like in this situation, we're looking at the ball going here and Cal beating Endeavor and Vitali to the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when that happens, he can either
Well,
backboard it
Vitaly
or
looks like he's pushing across right here to me.
yeah, he
It
is.
looks like he's looping back. So here, if Calypso pops that back middle and Vitaly is underneath it and he gets that ball before Delaphant, then there's nobody on the back. He beats Delaphant and they get an open net.
Okay.
And Delaphant is extra wide because he's on the far side of the ball, and now he's pushing towards midfield. Um, yeah, he could. I'm just saying it's a lot riskier than doing it the other way.
That's fair. I see like if Cal gets that touch, I'm seeing 90% of the time it's either banging into this backboard super hard or going across super fast.
It is not a bad option, mainly because they've overloaded here.
That's
If
that's
they
more
had
what I was looking at.
if they hadn't overloaded, it's a definite no-no. But either way, because if in this case you've matched their overload with basically an overload yourself. Dell can't push all the way forward because it would be an overcommit. I mean, he can still head into that corner, um, but he doesn't want to go too far away because uh,
Cal,
Kalster's on the wall.
yeah, I was
So if
imagining
they
Dell
just
staying more center.
because they can even just split that gap if they just bang it right between them because they're pretty close here too. Um, I don't know. It's not a huge deal.
Yeah,
Um, but in general, I prefer to do it the other way.
that makes sense. I was just seeing that like they were stuck in this corner and Cal was reading it, so I didn't really see like a big problem.
Also, Cal was a little bit late, so that makes a little bit more sense why he'd be in a position to be able to go up on the wall like this
Yeah,
without slowing down so much. If he'd been a little bit faster, he would have already been pushed out and across and on his way back. Um,
question is, could he have been
here
faster?
he goes really wide. He went all the way for that back boost.
Oh
Or
yeah,
close to it.
I saw it's like a bad transition that leads into this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so he goes back and then Dell comes forward and then okay. So
Yeah,
yeah, that was a little bit awkward.
yeah. So like,
Just extra space before they pushed up created a little bit too much of a gap. Because here, if Calster's already pushing forward and Loaded has this touch and he can just pop at center, that's such an easy cut right there for a shot. Knowing that he has Delaphant behind him to support, because he doesn't have to make this turn. The biggest reason why I see why people make this turn is they're worried that Loaded's going to get beat and I need to be the next man, but you don't have to be the next man. If you're pushing across, then Dell has even more time to be pushing up right through here
and then
to
you,
get that touch right behind him. And then you just get that a little push across action. You have the ability to Calster can get a shot if it comes off the pass from Loaded, and if it doesn't, then he just pushes right on out.
yeah,
And then yeah, Calster has to come make an awkward touch from the near side. which he does a very good job of. But it's a lot easier if coming from the back post.
Uh-oh, the waterfall. So here Isaac shouldn't be going for this, just at all. It's Dell's already back post. That was a good read on Cal's part.
It's just
So,
that's just a good shot right there. Yeah.
well, he knew that Vitali couldn't get a hard hit, but he also knew that this
Mhm.
was going behind Dell, and so he just pushes up super hard.
He gets a lot of power on that touch.
Hmm.
Catches him in transition still.
Ooh, I got a whole 4 minutes. That was a fun discussion on half rotations. That's good though, cause like I tend to not mind people reading the opposition that way, but I can see like where you're coming from with what is the safer, more high value kind of rotation,
I always try to go
regardless of
for what's the
mechanics.
percentage of um,
Yeah.
make it as easy on every person on the team as possible. Um, just give you
Holy shit.
the highest percentage play and over the course of a game or a series. Um, that's gonna be what wins.
Yeah. Also, the reason this doesn't work out is because loaded comes in this too hard. Um, so like if you just slow down a little bit, turn a little bit less sharp, push out a little bit instead of turning in so much. Um, that's fine. If that ball ends up going into this corner because the opposition beats the elephant, that's fine. That gives you lots of time to rotate in and around. Because you're not pushing out, this ball can't get to you. You can't really cut into it the way you need to, and that's why you miss.
I usually try to stay by the wall or even on the wall to give that outlet pass where he can get some power behind it. Because if you look at it, you get a full fast break if he's able to get you that ball just by banging it forward, and he has backup, so you don't have to worry about overcommitting by creating that passing lane.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, right next to the wall or even up on the wall, especially at higher ranks, going up high on the wall to give them a little bit of height to aim it to, can typically lead to a redirect to either a straight shot or a fast break in a 2v1 situation.
Yeah. So here there's just an overload. Cal should have been turning out and going around. I know it opens up a little bit on this corner, but like opening up the corner is fine. A lot of the time you can deal with a pass from the corner, even if this guy like controls it or something. But now you have a rougher touch, and that's why you miss that. Like it's much more difficult to approach from that angle.
That would be fine if you had backup, but since both your people are up, yeah, you're correct. You do want to loop around to the back. If you're only going to get one touch, you want to make sure that one touch is the easiest, highest percentage touch you can get.
You want to
If
make sure you
you
can
have
get the touch.
exactly. But if you have somebody in the back, then maybe it's not so much about what's my best touch. Maybe it's about, hey, I can get a 50% chance, and then he gets a 90% chance behind me. Whereas if I stop, I get a 70% chance, and we only get one. So even though it's a better touch for you, it's not a better touch for the team. So you're better off looping around um, when you have backup.
Yeah. Dell, when this happens and you see like your teammate turning in, push out. Actually, for all of you, if two of you get caught in a position and one of you turns in, that's fine. The person who's on the out needs to turn out. And this can happen anywhere on the field. If it happens over here, it's the same deal. This person takes a wider rotation. This person takes a tighter rotation. And in this case, you guys like had pretty much the same thing. Isaac did the right thing. Dell, you just need to push out. You don't need to be rotating with him. So like this right here is a good example, even though it's more spaced out. You guys are effectively in the same area and going to the same position, but Isaac takes a wider rotation, Dell takes a shorter rotation, and that's good. We're good.
hmm And this is the one situation where I always say it's good to grab that back post boost is only if you already have a teammate who's moving into the back post and you're trying to create time and space. That's where you're able to get that boost. If you notice, I think it was Cal in front of him who went straight to the back post without getting boost, because he knew that the positioning was more important. Um,
Yeah.
Loaded's able to get this, or sorry, it's Delevent. Loaded was able to go wide to get that boost only because Delevent was there. If he wasn't there, then he'd have to go immediately to that back post.
Yeah. And so in this situation, the other thing is um, this ball is getting behind your person in back post. And so one of two things needs to happen. We either need to be aware that Delaphin's going to commit to this because it looks like he can. This is a hard bounce to read. And Isaac, you just need to keep rotating into net and don't worry about the ball. Or on the flip side, Delaphant pushes through and Isaac challenges this like he does. I think that it's more reasonable that Delaphant does challenge this just because the bounce is so hard and fast that like comms are not going to be fast enough for one of you to be like, oh, by the way, I'm taking this. So he's going to do this naturally. He's going to ball chase naturally. So you want to just go to back post.
And if you can, you want to be watching Delefant as long as possible before you have to either commit to the ball or ball cam
Right.
voltage where you can't really see it.
Yeah,
To try to get as much information as you can because that's your read. You make your decision as the backman based on what the guy in front of you is doing. If like you said, if Dell pushes out, then you're gonna go for the ball. If he doesn't, you're gonna go to the post. Um,
exactly.
so
And,
just keep an eye on your teammates as long as possible to
and
make that decision.
and whenever you're rotating to pick up this boost and you have someone who's back post, be comfortable slowing down. You don't want to be going supersonic. It makes it really, really hard for you to follow up whatever they're doing. So, like, right here, you're going really fast. Like, let go of your gas. Let go of your gas during this whole thing because your momentum's just going to carry you and it's fine. You can even tap your brake. Um, and you'll get to back post as he's leaving. And in this case, you would have been able to pick that up. But this is circumstantial, so we're going to ignore the fact that that is so circumstantial. Loaded needs to be going back post here, not out. Like once you pick up this boost pad and see that this is not a free ball, you should immediately be turning back. And even better, you should just be pushing through net this way. Because now your approach angles are all screwed up, and they're going to be screwed up for the next 3 seconds. Like you... Holy shit, Cal. That was good. That was a good split up, and that was a good read from Dell. If only. That was close. What's going on here? Keep pushing out, Isaac. When you start to do this, it doesn't make sense for you to turn back in. The fact that this ball has been touched back this way means that you're not getting possession. So you just need to keep pushing out, and then Dell can circle around as that ball comes outfield. Um, and so what'll happen is you push out, Delephant comes in this way, and then Cal can start pushing out this way. And
The reason this happens is because Cal cuts across the field. So Cal cuts loaded here, by coming across like this, because now
oh,
he's
I didn't
chasing
even
it
see
back
this.
this way. So
Yeah,
now loaded. So the correct instinct, yeah. So loaded does go to where Cal is supposed to be by cutting across the field. So since Cal cut across to that point on the ball where loaded should be taking the ball, because he's got a better angle. When your teammate does that, just concede the ball to him, let him go for it, and start rotating out
yeah.
across, like Swoopy said.
And typically the idea here when you're second man is if that ball goes to the side of the field that the play was just on, that you just need to leave. Um, This is definitely like that ball chase. We're low time and we're down a point kind of deal, and we need to really work on that because if loaded comes up on this, they can't beat him to this. Um, and Cal can just kind of transition out and work on half rotating, or transition out completely, come behind loaded, and let Dell pick this up depending on how recoveries go.
He can even like it's kind of short, but he could probably take that left side boost path directly back behind loaded, and then flip a Yui because he needs to buy. Loaded doesn't have a backman now, so if Flipster just follows this near side curve,
Of
yeah, right
this, yeah,
through there, yeah, right through there to get back behind loaded to buy enough time for Dell, to fill that space.
that's why I think he'd
Um,
do something like this.
and
But
then Dell can slow down, maybe look for that pop back around, and if it doesn't come, he's looping behind Cal again,
yeah,
right back into rotations.
the only thing that I have a problem with doing this is it indicates to Isaac that he might cut into this ball until he completely turns around, and that might slow
As
Isaac
soon
down.
as his wheels point backwards, it should be a pretty clear indication that he's not going for that ball. When the ball is going to a corner and he's turning back towards your own net,
Yeah,
um, your car speaks volumes. Point yourself away from the ball, and that'll be a clear signal to your teammate that, hey, I'm not going to hit this. If you
yeah,
kind of start hesitating, moving slowly towards it, you're like, I don't know if I'm going to hit this. Well, your teammate doesn't know either. So now he's going to hit the brakes and he's going to be hesitant, try to figure out what's happening. Just make quick decisions, right or wrong. Um, be very decisive and show your intentions with your car. And then a lot of times you even don't have to make callouts because your car is screaming it out of yourself. All they have to do is be able to see you.
yeah. I personally like this more. Not like following this entire boost path, but just making a harder cutout at this boost pad. Because in the case that Isaac challenges this and gets 50, that ball's usually coming down this way anyway. Um,
Agreed. I was just saying because he was already basically so far near post, that would be an option. Because he'd already cut really hard right here. He's in the middle. So at that point you can maybe cut it. I
cut.
mean, you don't want to go too far to, hmm or maybe even just turn back around and follow that mid path in almost a full 180 to turn around and then
Oh, like just
swing,
half flip and then
or half flip or do a quick Yui. Or I
yeah,
mean, he's got a lot of momentum. He could probably power slide it. Would probably be faster than half flipping. But yeah, however you're gonna loop around to just you want to stay as far away from that wall as possible. But he's already put himself in a position where going around is tricky. If he turns right here, then loaded still very open and there's a lot of space. If he turns right and swings around that wide boost path, now they can drop it down in the middle. And loaded has a lot of room that he has to cover.
yeah. That's
Um,
why I think like one of these paths is
Something like that or somewhere down the middle. Is
yeah.
typically where you want to go.
The reason I wouldn't recommend going down the middle is because that's going to be Dell's approach. So, in the hypothetical that Cal does go this way for whatever reason, Dell's
hmm
approach would be going down this way because Cal would be looking to turn up for the pass, and Dell would be looking to fill third man.
hmm That's
Uh,
just going to be longer because Dell's already in their net and loaded's at the midfield. So for Dell to get all the way back and loop around behind loaded is going to leave a bit of a window. So yeah, that does work, especially with if loaded
well,
skewing is uncontested, like it looks like he's probably going to do if they kick it out to loaded here. Then yeah, that's probably not going to cause any problems because there's nobody who can contest loaded. So Calster's free to play a little bit more aggressively. But in general, like if they had somebody maybe in a better position to be contesting loaded or something, I would say you want to narrow that gap.
yeah.
Would be your number one priority. But yeah, in this situation, I definitely don't see anything wrong with what you're saying. Just because loaded's
Um,
going to have a clear touch.
Yeah, and like the idea from my perspective is that if Cal rotates like this and the play goes too slow, then him or Delephant can like if the play goes slow enough, Cal's just going to end up rotating this way anyway, and Delephant's going to come up this way. If the play develops quickly, Cal can turn on it, and Delephant can move out. Um, and this is all assuming Loaded gets possession. If Loaded doesn't get possession when Cal's going like this, he still has the option to get back or even come fill this space if there's enough time for him to fill this space. And that's kind of the idea. Is like this gives the most options for getting with Delephant getting him out of the net. Because for loaded to get possession or not get possession determines whether or not Cal like rotates back or rotates up, and then depending on the speed of the play, everything else comes into play. But like from my stance, if you're going like this and loaded gets possession, now there's no way Dell can actually get to that quickly enough if the play develops quickly. If loaded develops the play slowly, then definitely a Delphine can get to it given that time. I just don't see that happening a lot of the time, just because they're going to have someone pressuring the ball shortly after loaded gets possession. That's just my thought process, though. I do see exactly where you're coming from, especially since Cal's already kind of like facing this way. Did your mic die?
Yes, I've been talking this entire time. I had my boom mic up. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Um,
It gave me time to actually talk. You chatty Cathy.
I don't remember where I stopped talking, but yeah, I was just saying in general. Here I do think that Loaded's gonna have plenty of time though, because there's nobody there pressuring as he kicks that out to Loaded. That probably is going to be a slower developing play, or at least has the option to be a slower developing play.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I see scary about Cal coming out is if that's a soft touch to a control. I don't know how much boost that goalie has, but if he's able to come down, or the speed of it, like it's hard to tell from a freeze frame. Okay,
Well,
yeah, he's already kicking it out.
yeah. This is all from the perspective that this ball is 100% going to that corner.
Hmm.
Um, and so with that in mind, like I think I just tend to think that this is the better. But I do see like since Cal, if in the case that Cal already turns this way, following what Clown was thinking as like a secondary, like oh I already did this and I need to just do something different and not chase the ball. This is definitely a good option too because it does give Isaac the time to move up. And then from here, you can transition behind him, and Dell can get the time to move out. And in this case, if you're trying to pass to Cal because Dell moves out or just completely leaves the play really quickly, then you want to make sure it's a short pass and not a long pass. And that's like
Or
the
Dell can even just go for a bump right here as Loaded comes to take possession of this to give him a shot. Endeavor's probably going to come blowing through here real quick to try to stop him. And then if Dell just bumps that goalie while Loaded beats him to that spot.
I don't think that would work out too well. Like if we look at the way they're all situated, they have two people coming in. So even if Delphine gets one bump, they're basically committing 3 for 2. Just because they have one person so far out of the play that like Delphine getting this guy bumped, Loaded's not gonna shoot this in time.
So I see Endeavor pushing hard. Vitaly's stuck in no man's land. The only person who's really in a spot to stop this is Ty, who's going back post. Vitaly's pushing
Oh,
far forward.
so you're
Endeavor's late. If he just goes to bump Ty, I think that's a goal. It's at least a backboard touch out
Cal.
to Cal, who
Yeah.
if
Okay,
it turned out either way,
I can see
is
that.
able to get that re up, and
I,
then it's just a little bump on your way out.
yeah, I was
Again,
thinking of him
not
bumping
necessary.
Endeavor.
No, let Endeavor go through because he's late.
Yeah, no, you bumped the
He's not
shit out
getting
of
to that
Ty.
ball.
I totally see what you mean.
And then if I think Loaded gets that ball past Vitali because he was in an awkward spot. If he had taken that instead of Cal.
Yeah. If he didn't have to slow down, basically.
Hmm.
So this is a really heads up touch. Can't get it upfield. There's no one really to like put the ball to, but he knows that the opposition is pushing left side. So he touches it right, just to give his team more time and space.
Hmm. Yeah, if you can't get it to a teammate, just keep it away from the opponents.
Yeah.
Um, Time buys you enough time to get back into position, maybe grab a boost pad or two. Just get better prepared. If you have to give up possession, increase the amount of time before they get controlled possession.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Clown, for running through various discussions. It's nice to actually have someone to talk to about stuff. A lot of the time when I'm doing these replays, it's in isolation. and like I'll rewind and like talk about some of the stuff you've talked about, or just kind of ignore it because like the circumstance already happened. Uh,
Mhm.
and talk about like what we can do to get out of it. So it's kind of
I,
nice
I
to
I
have
feel you.
have
I'm on the same page. I'm always doing mine
kind of like
either
post talk.
individually.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
Well,
but yeah.
well, thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for coming and watching and also seeing how Cal plays for his eventual inauguration into the team. Cuz
Shall
I think
see.
do you guys have other tryouts?
Um, Not that I'm aware of.
Are you going to do
I
like
know it went really well. Nothing's official yet. Are we off recording?
no. I was about to say that I'm going to stop recording. Look at Clown. So Clown wants to keep things discreet. I'll catch you guys later. Big things to take away are still watching ball side rotations. And then in the case that you guys are feeling more nervous or high pressure, watching for space and getting those kind of like rotating away from the ball situations more in line because we're seeing a little bit more ball chasing, and it's definitely a detriment to your guys' offensive pressure and eventually a detriment to your defensive transitions. Um, and then just being comfortable when you do get cut, just acknowledging that you're no longer going to be the next person touching the ball and getting out of the play. Those are the two big things, is the adjustment pieces, because I think that there's definitely going to be more adjusting, and always you're going to find yourself in situations where that happens. So just keep an eye out for like what you should be doing next, not what you had initially planned. Because the second you get cut, what you initially planned usually ceases to matter. Pretty much 9 times out of 10. There's very very rare cases where it goes really well into a pass. Anywho, I will see you guys later. Hopefully, we can get a live session with Isaac soon. Peace.